President Donald Trump graced California with his bilious presence so that he could flump around the state saying stupid things about wildfires that have been tearing along up and down the West Coast, destroying homes and making the air unbreathable. It's always hard to pick out just one idiotic thing Trump says, since every time he opens his mouth, the entire universe gets a little stupider. But a lot of attention has been given to one particular quote, said in response to a question about how he would like to see forests better managed. I'm going to read it to you unedited from the official White House transcript. But with regard to the forest, when trees fall down after a short period of time, about 18 months, they become very dry. They become really like a matchstick. And they get up, there's no more water pouring through, and they become very, very, they just explode. They can explode. I heard of this via my Twitch followers who pointed out that no, trees do not explode. And when I looked up the full quote later, one of the top results I found was from wildfiretoday.com, which announced once and for all, trees do not explode. And I found all this very interesting because, in fact, trees kind of do explode. I mean, holy shit, am I making a video about how Donald Trump is right about something and at least one obvious expert at wildfiretoday.com is wrong? I kind of am, sort of. Look, 2020 is a weird time. But let me say this up front. Explode is a problematic word here. It means different things to different people. And when I talk about how trees can explode, I may not mean what you first think when you hear the word explode. When I first moved to Northern California and noticed that everything was on fire, I heard about this nightmare that is the eucalyptus tree. I previously only knew the eucalyptus as a tree that produces smelly oil and koalas. Note that since then, I have learned that koalas do not, in fact, grow on trees. But it turns out that there's more to them than that. The first thing I heard here was eucalyptus trees are an invasive species that do not belong in California. And the second thing I heard was also they explode. Now, when I first heard that, I did imagine a tree hanging out in a forest on a sunny day, minding its own business, and then suddenly out of nowhere, it literally just explodes like a bomb, setting off a wildfire that destroys the entire state. That would be, admittedly, it'd be kind of awesome, like in the traditional sense of the word awesome. But that's not actually what happens. Here's what it really means. Eucalyptus are some of the most flammable trees on the planet. Scientists use an ignition rating of 1 to 10, with 1 being the most flammable. Eucalyptus earns a 1. They're right up there with grass. They're so flammable for a number of good reasons. First of all, those smelly oils that people really love so much happen to be extremely flammable. So they're literally just oozing accelerants. Additionally, they are extreme litterers. If left to their own devices, they will fill the forest floor below them with literal feet of bark and leaves and branches. To make things even worse, all of that litter is also covered in oil, which prevents it from decomposing, so it hangs around even longer, and it makes the litter itself even more flammable. Researchers are split on whether eucalyptus tolerate forest fires very well, or if they actively fucking love it. There's a chance that the tree evolved the way it has because it benefits from wildfires that blast through the forest, destroying everything, but taking eucalyptus seed pods and dropping them in newly fertile ground, where they start their life cycle all over again. Other scientists argue that the oil repels insects, the litter does other beneficial stuff, and the fact that all of this leads to more wildfire is just a fun bonus for the tree. But everyone agrees these trees are super flammable. So when an existing fire hits them, they can dramatically whoosh, into flames from root to crown in a way that can reasonably be described as an explosion. Here's a video from Australia taken just last year showing a hint of how that might look. Although I need to note that when a wildfire is burning, there are a lot of different things happening, like flames suddenly reaching a pocket of oxygen or behaving in weird ways, like when they go up a slope, they can do things that we might not expect. It's hard to find really good video of wildfires exploding like that because it's fucking terrifying, and the human holding the camera tends to run away very quickly in the opposite direction. And we don't have any research where scientists have set fire to a stand of eucalyptus trees and filmed exactly what happens. But I challenge you to watch that video and argue that that doesn't show something that qualifies as an explosion. All that said, I do agree that when communicating the science of these wildfires to the general public, we probably shouldn't say trees explode. And Trump's comments and the resulting discourse are exactly why. I would bet money that some well-meaning scientists explained to Trump some of what I've just told you. And they used the word explode to mean caught fire very quickly and dramatically, and Trump walked away from that with the word explode. And so he used it because he's a toddler and he just repeats things that he hears with no context. What Trump said can be interpreted generously to be correct. Trees can create litter that can act like a matchstick, and when they catch fire, they will dramatically light up and spread that fire. And I think that is actually what he meant, because later on in the transcript, he said, but if you did manage your forest and if you removed all of that really dry and just, it's like explosive is the only word. You drop a cigarette on it, you come back a half hour later and you have a forest fire. If you don't have that sitting there, nothing is going to burn. And he's not totally wrong there. But it's also worth noting that his comments are meant to spread the misinformation that these wildfires are only happening because of incompetent forest management on the part of the state of California. That is absolutely not true. He's trying to downplay the fact that climate change contributed to this problem by creating all of those dry conditions that he's talking about that lead it to be like a matchstick. He's also trying to downplay the fact that the federal government owns and is responsible for the majority of California's forests. All of these things can be true at once. Individual human stupidity in the form of gender reveal parties and cigarettes and campfires, those can start these fires. Also, the random weather events like lightning storms started some of these fires. Also, climate change exacerbated these fires. Poor forest management exacerbated these fires. Planting highly flammable invasive trees in this wildfire-prone area exacerbated this problem. And terrible social policies on the part of the state of California has made it more difficult to get these fires under control. So, do trees explode? It depends on what you mean by explode. Is Trump a science-denying narcissistic baby man who occasionally says things that are true? Yeah,